Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to WWE Aftershock Season 4, Episode 9, or whatever the title says at the bottom, because I literally just looked at what it was 2 seconds ago. I'm Owen the Birdman Finch, and I am going to give you all the WWE reviews and my thoughts on what's been going on this past week. Um, I know I usually said that if I was going to do the show solo, I would just break it up into small videos, but I didn't really have the passion last week to do any videos. And then I was going to do the show Saturday, but there was 4th of July, and then I missed SmackDown the day before, anyways. So I just figured I would just squeeze it all in today. So I'm just going to talk about everything that's been going on. So we're going to start with Night of Champions, since that show's happened since I last did a video. Um, but yeah, let's just get that started. Started off with the countdown show. The countdown show is pretty much pointless. They did like a Night of Champions like special the night before, and a lot of what was on this show was there. So I don't know why they felt the need to do it. Also, 2 hours, too long for a countdown show. This one definitely didn't need to be 2 hours. They didn't even have like the panel there in person. It was at they were at WWHQ, and then yeah. So um, the panel for that though was Peter Rosenborg, George Tessitore, and Big E. I wouldn't even be shocked if this wasn't even like live. It probably was, but like I could see something where they taped this in advance, but whatever. A lot of this was just kind of the wrestlers doing promos and interviews, hyping up their matches. Like they had Sami Zayn, Gunther, and Cody all do one to kind of hype up their main event. Tiffany Stratton got interviewed and got offered to get help from Chelsea Green. Trick Williams did like an interview like by the panel, so that was pretty good. And then Danhausen interrupted Michael Cole. This was really funny, where like um he thought he was like in the King of the Ring tournament, so he thought he was making it to the finals. I thought that was funny. And then Triple H did like an interview, like hyping up the show and everything. Um, but also like some of the playback. I think this was live because there would be like a delay if they did like interviews from the arena. Like the Trick Williams one had like a 5 second delay, but I guess that's just bound to happen. So and then we had the show itself. We had Corey Graves and Michael Cole on commentary for that. Um, Nice to see them back on commentary. I know they do Raw weekly, but Corey Graves doesn't really do the PLEs. I think that much. I think it's either him or Wade Barrett, and this time it was Corey, so that's nice. Um, it started off with the King of the Ring finals match. It was Obafemi versus Jey Uso. This was a very good match. Pretty solid. Jey Uso got in a bunch of offense. He got him in the sleeper. He did the splash, the super kick, but Obafemi still looked strong. And he actually won. Obafemi actually beat Jey Uso, which I was really surprised about. I was thinking they were going to have Brock Lesnar cost him the match, but that's not what happened. Obafemi became the King of the Ring. He got awarded it by Nick Aldis. I'll give it like I originally wrote 3 3/4, but unfortunately Raw kind of ruins this, so I'm probably gonna bump it down to like 3 1/4. It was a pretty good match. I definitely rated it higher because I was really happy Oba won, and they were gonna go like going all in on Oba, but obviously we'll get to how Raw kind of ruins that. Um, but yeah, it was pretty good for what it was. And then Danhausen came out to do a promo. Um, he kind of did the typical stick that he does, like when he comes out on SmackDown and stuff. And then Liv Morgan came out and wanted payment back from, um, when he took like JD and Dom's money. So instead of doing that, he cursed Liv Morgan. So that led to the Queen of the Ring finals. And I was really happy about this. It was her versus Io Sky. And because she got cursed, I'm like, maybe this means Liv's losing, and that's exactly what happened. They worked well together, though. It was very good stuff. Liv targeted the leg a lot. Io did a lot of high-flying stuff. They did this really unique spot where, like, Io tried to catch herself on the step by landing on her feet, but her leg gave way, and she, like, fell off the steps. And Io Sky won. She hit the over the moonsault. She beat Liv Morgan, and she won the Queen of the Wind. She announced that she's going to choose to face Liv Morgan for the Women's World title, which I think is pretty cool, I guess. I would have done Rhea, because I feel like there's a better story there, since Rhea's never beaten Io Sky, and, we just saw the match now between Liv, I imagine, because Io beat Liv here. She's not going to win at SummerSlam, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, overall, very good stuff. I'll give it like 3 3/4 stars. You know, then we had the cage match. It was Seth Rollins versus Braun Breaker. I thought this was great stuff. They both brought weapons into the ring. This was a very brutal cage match. And, Braun Breaker ended up finally getting the win. Seth hit the stomp on him from the top of the turnbuckle. But overall, great cage match here. It was very brutal, very back and forth. They did some stuff where they tried to escape the cage. So, overall, thought that was great stuff. Some people weren't happy Braun Breaker lost, which I can understand, but I feel like Seth was really the right winner here. The only way the storyline could really end is if Seth won. His whole thing, he's been wanting to take down the Vision. I think Seth winning kind of accomplishes that. I kind of hope they can just kind of get Braun Breaker's career back on track. I think that injury did a lot of damage to him because then he couldn't face Seth at WrestleMania. And I just think a lot of people have kind of taken the spot the momentum he kind of had for himself. So, yeah, we'll see what happens there. But yeah, Seth beat Braun Breaker. But it was great stuff. 4.5 stars. I thought it was a great cage match. Then we had Trick Williams versus Ricky Saints for the U.S. title, the men's U.S. title. This was good stuff. Kind of a SmackDown match, thrown together here, but it was still good stuff. Ricky Saints got Little Yachty ejected by pulling an Eddie Guerrero spot where he pretended he hit him with the kendo stick, and then eventually the match went on for a little whiles after that, and Trick won with a trick shot. Afterwards, Trick was kind of mouthing off to him, and then Little Yachty hit him with a kendo stick, and then Trick hit him with another trick shot, and then he had Little Yachty hit the people's elbow onto him. Good stuff here, though. 3 stars. But definitely a SmackDown match thrown on a PLE. Then we had Jade Cargill versus Tiffany Stratton for the Women's United States Championship. Relatively good stuff here. Definitely, a little sloppy in places, but whatever. At the end, Beechin tried to interfere, but then Chelsea Green counteracted the interference, and then Charlotte Flair counteracted it when Jade Cargill went to use the title, so it allowed Tiffany Stratton to hit the over the moonsault for the win. She retained the title. I kind of figured, I know I predicted in my predictions that Jade would win, but I kind of figured this would happen considering the fact that Jade laid her out on SmackDown and Charlotte Flair was due to come back. So I kind of figured this would happen, but whatever. Good stuff here, 3 stars. And then the main event was Cody Rhodes defending the Undisputed Championship against Sami Zayn and Gunther. This was great stuff. Really enjoyed this triple threat match. It was absolutely bonkers. Just absolutely all over the place. And eventually, Sami beat Cody. Cody went for the crossroads, and then he rolled him up. And Sami Zayn won the title. I like this, though, because this main event was really unpredictable. You didn't really know who was going to get the win, especially with now Oba winning the King of the Ring tournament. But I'm happy Sami Zayn finally got the world title. I felt like this was the right place to do it. It was in a place in Saudi where he's going to be really beloved. It was the right person with Cody taking the pin. And he's just really interested at the moment. So I think Sami Zayn winning the title here is really good stuff. Unfortunately, when we talk about SmackDown, I feel like we're not going to have this moment for long. But yeah, Sami Zayn winning made all the sense in the world. He did a nice interview on the post show afterwards, and he's done some interviews on the Raw podcast afterwards. But I'm really happy Sami Zayn won the title. He can finally say he finished the story. He's now a Grand Slam champion. So that's good stuff. I really like Night of Champions. I'm going to give it an A-. I think, they made a lot of right booking decisions on this show. You had the excitement of Sami Zayn winning the title. The 2 King and Queen of the Ring matches delivered. The cage match delivered. And, the U.S. title matches what they were, but they were delivered for the most part. I felt pretty good coming out of this show. Unfortunately, it didn't last long, but overall, good stuff. I'll just talk about Raw now since that's kind of topical. Um, so yeah, Raw took place on, according to my notes, I wrote June 1st, but I don't think it was June 1st. It was like, what's today, July 6th? So let me see, when did Raw take place? What was my calendars? So it was June 29th, that's what I thought. And we had Michael Cole and Corey Graves back on commentary. I think they were in Atlanta, and they did Raw early. I missed Raw because I missed NXT, The Great American Bash. I wanted to watch that, and then I was too tired to watch Raw. I was going to watch it right afterwards, but I was too tired, so I watched Raw the next day. But yeah, so it kicked off with Obafemi. He came out and, kind of was putting the champs on notice, announced he was now the king of the ring. Then he got interrupted by Brock Lesnar. Good stuff here, but a good segment where Brock came out and basically said that he doesn't watch the show, which anybody else wouldn't really work, but with Brock, he can say stuff like that. He talked about like how he heard Oba's been talking shit, how he's the king of the ring and he won king of the ring all that time ago. And he had like a really good line where he said, "Talk shit, get dropped" or whatever, and he kicked him in the balls, F5'd him, and yeah, I like that he even mentioned that like he never really been a good promo. Paul Heyman, he had taken care of that for him, and afterwards Oba got up and says he's not going to deal with this. He says Brock's still a bitch and calls him out for SummerSlam, and Brock says, "Okay, one condition, it's Hell in a Cell." So then backstage, Adam Pearce was pissed at Paul Heyman because obviously this threw SummerSlam all for a loop since, Oba now wants to go after Brock. So he made sure that Oba still wanted to like do this. And Oba said, "I don't care about the title shots, they'll be there. I want Brock," and the match was made official. So the segment itself I thought was really good. The caveat I don't like is Oba giving up his title shot. I don't really know why they needed to do that. They easily could have had Oba still challenge for the title. SummerSlam's a 2-night show. They easily could have had Oba face Brock on one of the nights and then face the champion he wanted to pick on the other night, whether that was Sammy or Roman. And he didn't even have to win. He would have an out because he would be banged up from the Hell in a Cell match. Or, the best bet is you didn't even have to put him in the tournament. You could have just had Oba not be in it and just continue to call out Brock, do the open challenges, and just look strong. You could have had Oba be in the tournament and just got eliminated in the 4-way matches and not have to take a pin. There was just so many other better ways they could have done this. Because as we're going to see later, Seth really should have just won the tournament and faced Roman for the title, since that's what gets set up on this show anyways. There was really no reason to kind of go down this path. This was really dumb. I think it just kind of made the King of the Ring tournament really pointless. And yeah, it's just... or they could have had Loba just say, they could have started something new where instead of a title shot, you could pick a match you want to have at SummerSlam. And he says, I pick Brock. And then that could have started something new where, like, maybe at SummerSlam, you could pick the match you want to have at SummerSlam. Instead of Oba giving up his title shot. I just think that's really stupid. But whatever. Then Rey Mysterio faced Ethan Page. They had a really good match with each other. Rey Mysterio won with the 619 and the splash. But overall, good stuff. I don't mind Ethan Page losing here, I guess. They do need to get his career back on track a little bit. Like, yeah, he beat Dragon Lee, but I feel like he's kind of plateauing a little bit. I think they need to get the IC title on him sooner rather than later, if that's the direction they want to go down, because right now it's kind of looking like he's just going to be kind of a mid-carder at the moment, and I kind of want him to be something more than that. Then Danhausen's, they showed his laboratory, and basically Dominic Mysterio and JD trashed it. They also took like his Knicks t-shirt, so that was relatively good. Joe Hendry had his concert. Good stuff. He put over the Street Profits. They had a nice concert. They had really good synergy with each other, really good chemistry. And then afterwards, Austin Theory comes out. And earlier in the show, Austin Theory went up to Paul Heyman and was like, "Hey, you didn't tell me you were here." And he's just like, "Yep, but I am." And he kind of walked off. Kind of looks like Austin Theory is going to be distant from Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman's going to leave the Vision. I heard the Vision's breaking up, and I'm really not surprised by that, considering the fact that there's really nothing left for them to do as a faction. Seth kind of beat them already. Everyone just keeps getting hurt. I don't really think there's a reason to keep that faction going. I think that faction's failed. So definitely get rid of it. I think it's holding back Braun Breaker. It's not really doing anything for Theory. And there's other things that Paul Heyman can be doing. I mean, once Brock retires at SummerSlam, he can easily get a new client. Maybe he can just go back to Braun Breaker, because that partnership, I think, can really work well if it's out of the Vision vortex. I just don't really think there's really a need for the Vision anymore, especially now that the Bloodline's back together. So yeah, they had a match. It was Joe Hendry versus Theory. Joe Hendry beat him with like a Yoanagi. I think it was supposed to be the standing ovation, but it didn't really look that way. This match was just so whatever. Really didn't care much about it. Then Raquel Rodriguez and Adam Pearce are backstage. Raquel Rodriguez wants a shot at the Women's Intercontinental title, and Adam Pearce says that Maxine Dupree wants one, so he makes a match between them later. And then Raquel tells Liv that she'll have her back against Io Sky and Danhausen. So Io Sky came out to do a promo. She did the promo saying that she was the queen and she's going to win the title at SummerSlam. Liv came out and says that now that Io's on a bad side, she's going to get a different Liv Morgan at SummerSlam. It leads to a brawl. And the Judgment Day beat her down 3-on-1. And that was basically it. Really wasn't a fan of this. This is the same thing they always do with Liv Morgan. And I'm just over the Liv Morgan push. So, yeah. Then Jimmy Uso faced LA Knight. Jay was on commentary. He kind of talked about not winning the tournament. He said he's been avoiding Roman Reigns all day, which was funny. But he was pretty unbearable on commentary. Eventually LA Knight got him off, but yeah, he's pretty unbearable on commentary. And during the match, Jay gets up on the apron, distracts LA Knight, which causes Jimmy to beat him by a roll-up. This was so 50-50. Not a fan of this. The fact that LA Knight is going 50-50 with Jimmy Uso, who's perceived to be the weakest member of the Bloodline, is absolutely ridiculous. LA Knight's just being fucked over royally. This guy deserves a push. He's deserved it for years, and they just won't push him. He's so over, and it's just ridiculous. This guy should have won the world title multiple times, and yeah. He should have won the tournament, probably. But they just have him so stuck, they don't know what to do with this guy. And unfortunately, WWE's the best bet he can have, because I don't really think he fits in AEW's vortex, because he doesn't, and then he doesn't really need to go to TNA. So afterwards, though, he gets beat down by the Usos, but then Solo makes the save, lays out Jay with the Samoan... No, I think Jimmy with the Samoan spike, and Jay got laid out with the BFT. So if, Solo was going to come out and help LA Knight, why not interfere and help him win the match, so that way LA Knight doesn't have to go 50-50 with Jimmy Uso. It's just... Then we had an update on Nick Aldis, because I forgot to say this. Nick Aldis and Gunther got into it during the post-show. They got physical. So they announced that Nick Aldis is on, a leave of absence. And I think Gunther isn't the same. He wasn't on SmackDown this week, so... Here, this is building to a match at SummerSlam. I kind of hope that does happen. I feel like it will. We've heard this before, though, because they were teasing him and Drew were going to have a match, and that never really materialized. So we'll see if that happens. Then the Usos are backstage, and Jacob Fatu comes up, and, they kind of get into it a little bit. Jacob Fatu says he's going to go handle the Solo problem on SmackDown. which didn't happen, actually. They were there, but nothing came of it. They never even had Solo and Jacob actually, like, interact, so I don't know what happened there. And then, you know, he tells them that, like, the Usos can, like, leave, I guess. So, overall, good stuff. It's just, you know, good. And Maxine Dupri's backstage. Um, she like tells Gable that she didn't handle the how they did the business, but she meant everything that she said. Um, and Gable said that she doesn't even owe him an apology. He's the one that knows her, and when the forgiveness comes, it will come. Good stuff. I'm really interested in the Gable storyline. And then Maxine Dupri faced Raquel Rodriguez, and of course lost. So there's that. It was okay. Yeah, I don't really remember much of it. Then Danhausen's backstage, and he's upset that his laboratory got destroyed. So Liv Morgan says that he's got to make this right and um, like get rid of the curse. So Danhausen says he'll do that. It's pretty funny. Then Chad Gable faced JD McDonough. Good stuff. They were really back and forth. Really liked this. Eventually, Danhausen came out with a briefcase, and then um, Dom chased him through the crowd. This caused Chad Gable to lock the ankle lock in on JD, and he tapped out. And then afterwards, they opened the briefcase, and obviously it was gimmicked. They had a bunch of powder poofed into their face, and then Danhausen tried to take his shirt back, but then Raquel Rodriguez attacked him, and he like disappeared before she could really do anything. So good stuff. Keeps Danhausen in the mix. I do like the fact that the Judgment Day is the next feud for him, so that's good. Then Maxine Dupri's backstage, and like Austin Theory came up and like wondered what the hell she's doing. Like, why are you wasting your time with Chad? And Theory says whatever we had is over, which we don't really know what that was because the only time we'd see them talk would be off in the distance. This is why I think the Vision's ending, because it seems like they've ended this story unless they do something with it next week. But again, I don't really see why the Vision would keep going. There's really nothing for them to do. They did announce that they have a rematch for the World Tag Team titles. I don't think they're gonna win them back. So I think like Braun Breaker's just gonna turn on Theory. And I don't know if he'll go face or not, but I'd like if he'll go face. I think that'd be a nice direction for him. But then yeah, that was it. Then Roman Reigns cut his promo. He was out there with Jacob Fatu, but he gets cut off by Seth Rollins, and he announces, that it's time for him to collect the World Heavyweight Championship. Roman says that, Seth hasn't done anything to warrant a world title shot. He lost at WrestleMania. He lost to Braun Breaker. What did you do to really get a title shot? Seth says, that I haven't earned it, but you need this more than me because I've had your number ever since we broke up, when I broke up the Shield, when I cashed in the Money in the Bank briefcase, when I cost you your title. You never beat me when you had your 3-year title reign. So, and he even says that, they have more years behind him than in front of him. So he says that they should grant the match. Roman accepts and says that when it's over, though, it's over. So, yeah, we get the match. Again, I would have had Seth win the King of the Ring tournament to get here, but we're here. I'm happy we're getting this match. Really strong promo by Seth. So I thought that was really good stuff. And that was Raw. Raw was kind of whatever. I'll give it like a B-. It was relatively good, but not really a high B-. I could have done without a lot of this. But I was entertained doing it. Then we had SmackDown. I'll kind of cover that now since it was taped the same day. The same people on commentary. It was in the same venue. Makes sense to tape it because the 4th was Saturday. And, they obviously didn't want the wrestlers to have to work a live show the day before and miss time with their families. It started off with Sami Zayn. He came out to do his promo. I like this. He was kind of rubbing it in the fans' face that he won the title finally. So that was good stuff. And then Cody came out to congratulate Sammy. And that was all that was going to happen. But then Sammy said, like, look, he wants to see the real Cody. He knows he wants the title back. Just like admit it. So then, who came out next? Jay came out. He said he's happy for Sammy, but he says he's going to bring the belt back to the family. Sammy's upset because he let them have their moment as champion while they won't let him have his. He mentions that the title's already back in the family, and he said that, Cody shouldn't even have a title shot. He's just the golden boy. So Adam Pearce comes out and makes a match between Jay and Cody. Winner becomes the undisputed champion. Winner becomes the number one contender to the undisputed title. And it's not, at SummerSlam. It's going to be on Raw. I'm filming this the same day as Raw, so either tonight or if you watch this another time, it's already happened. So we'll see what happens there. Then, backstage, Sami Zayn wasn't happy about this, and he confronted, Adam Pearce about it. And Adam Pearce sees this as an opportunity for Sami to showcase his skills on Raw. Obviously, Adam Pearce is being a bit selfish. I think, because he's actually the GM of Raw. He wants to have the match on Raw to boost his viewership. And he's running SmackDown, because Nick is on a leave of absence. So, Sami goes up to Johnny Gargano, and, they kind of do something funny here where, like, he says, things are looking up now, and he thanks Johnny for that, and they take a picture together. They need to move on from this Johnny Gargano storyline, though. It's not really doing much for him. It was funny in the beginning, but now it's kind of gone on a little too long. I kind of hope they can finally get his career going, because I think he's AEW bound if things don't change. He might already be, with Tommaso Ciampa being there now and everything. Then earlier in the show, Charlotte Flair got interviewed about, costing Jade Cargill the U.S. title, and she kind of saw that as her getting her revenge since Jade cost her the Queen of the Wind tournament. Alexa Bliss came up and wasn't happy that Charlotte Flair didn't tell her she was going to be at Saudi, but, she's not happy with Alexa that she's been teaming up with Tiffany. So they kind of, I guess, started some dissension there. That was always bound to happen. The women's tag division doesn't really need that, though. They've already broken up Lyra and Bayley, and they haven't even done that well with, I forgot to mention, because Lyra's promo on Raw was very mediocre. And then, they broke up WeHo. They broke up, this tag team now, Lyra and Bayley, and now they're going to break up We're Not Friends, or the Twisted Queens, whatever their name are. We're just running out of tag teams for the woman. So, yeah, that's whatever. We had the 6-woman tag. It was Jade Cargill and Beechin versus Charlotte Flair, Chelsea Green, and Tiffany Stratton. Relatively fine match. It was a little sloppy, but it was fine. Jade Cargill pinned Chelsea Green with the Jaded. Kind of figured Tiffany would take the pin here. Oh, no, Chelsea would take the pin here because she kind of always gets made to look like a fool, and she's really talented anyways, so she can easily recover from that. Whatever. Then, what else happened on SmackDown? I gotta go through my notes. So I did the Adam Pearce segment. Then we had a great match. It was Rey Fenix retaining his title against Vikingo, his cruiserweight title from AAA. Great stuff. It was fantastic. I loved it. I'll say it now. This was obviously taped because if you had watched NXT before this, Vikingo got hurt doing match training with EK Prosper, so they had to write him off of that match, but then he was able to be here because this was taped beforehand. So, so it was a little weird to watch this match, but it was still fantastic. I really loved it. Then Julia got interviewed. She got attacked by... Well, she was talking about how she wants to face Blake Monroe face-to-face. Then Kiana James came up, and they want to continue that for some reason. So then Blake Monroe attacked her. Then she attacked Kiana. So that's whatever. Blake Monroe still didn't get much of a reaction, but she was also backstage, so whatever. But, I'm not really too hopeful of what reaction she'll get, because she got nothing in the UK. So we'll see what happens. Then Jimmy and Jacob were backstage, and again, they didn't even interact with Solo. Royce Keys came up and is wondering like where Jacob Fatu's allegiance is lie. So I'm thinking we're gonna get something where like we get like a big match. This is probably gonna be the War Games match this year with the Bloodline versus like LA Knight, Solo, Royce Keys, and maybe somebody else in there, maybe a Seth, to kind of face the Bloodline. Then Trick Williams came out to do his promo, but before he could say anything, Carmelo Hayes wanted a U.S. title match, but they didn't accept. They brushed it off. They are going to give him a non-title next week. Trick backslapped him, and then Melo laid him out with a dive. I like this segment, I guess, but I didn't really like how it was presented. They kind of had Trick be the heel here, which was really backwards because he's been babyface recently. And Melo's been a babyface, so I guess they wanted someone to play the heel, and I guess it was just happened to be Trick, but this just didn't really make sense. So Danhausen's backstage, and Zack Ryder, Matt Cardona comes up to him. Miz and Kelton still shocked, and they were kind of doing Zack Ryder's catchphrases. Danhausen announces that at Saturday night's main event, he has a match with JD McDonough. And then Matt Cardona like had to turn a lever, which like really shocked the Kid and the Miz, which was pretty funny. Then we had Brie Bella versus Laney Reed. Laney Reed won. Brie was kicking her ass the whole match, and honestly, like probably was gonna make her tap out to the yes lock. And if Paige didn't step in, she probably still would have won because like Fallon Henley was trying to interfere and nothing came of that. So, yeah. So, so Laney Reed won. Now Fatal Influence are gonna get a women's tag title match out of that. They're probably gonna win because I don't really know what else teams that Brie Bella and Paige can really like face. They've basically faced every team. Except like Alexa Bliss and Charlotte, but they've basically beaten every team, so I imagine they're gonna win. So then it showed a hot dog eating contest between R-Truth and I think Nathan Frazier, and then the War Raiders come up. They kind of do a little joke here where R-Truth was, that Ivo was eating his wiener. So they want to set up a title for title match. It's going to be the WWE Tag Champs versus the AAA Tag Champs. I hope they use this to kind of put the belts on the War Raiders. I don't really think we really need R-Truth and Damien as a team anymore. But we'll see, because Damian Priest is showing up in AAA now, so maybe they're going to have, that's to kind of throw us off a little bit, but we'll see. Then Cody's backstage. Finn Balor comes up to him and said he was looking forward to a Cody Rhodes Finn Balor match. And he wanted it to be for the title, so he tells Cody to go win the title back. And then Tama Tonga comes up to him and he says that he talked to the elders and he said that they need to make moments for themselves and kill his past. Finn didn't really know what that meant, but then he got attacked by Tonga Loa and they beat him up. And this is going to set up a match between them next week, which I'm really looking forward to. Then we had the WWE Undisputed number 1 contenders match. It was Jay versus Cody. Cody won. I don't really think anyone was surprised by that. Match was relatively good. Not very excited. It was very short. It was kind of shorter than you would think, but Cody won. And so he's going to face Sammy for the title on Raw. I'm worried. Cody might just win the belt back, which is really disappointing. I think there's a lot Sammy can do as champion. I'm pretty sure Raw's in Chicago. That's when probably CM Punk's going to come back. They're going to use that to set up CM Punk versus Cody for the title at SummerSlam. I just think that that's a mistake. I think Sammy can do a lot as champion. There's a lot of people he can face for the title. But I guess it's just going to be a temporary thing. I just think Cody needs to get out of the title picture for a while, too. He's been in the title picture basically since he's won it. And I know he's lost the belt a few times, but he's basically been in the title picture. Like, when he came back, he was still in the title picture. Doing, like, the road to WrestleMania, he was still in the title picture because he was in the Rumble. And he was, in the Chamber match to become number 1 contender. So he's been basically in the title picture. I think we need to do different stuff with Cody. I think he's getting boring just having the title centered around him. Um, Punk and Cody easily can have a match at SummerSlam. They don't need the title. John Cena Batista 2008 SummerSlam, when they first faced off, it wasn't even for the title. They could easily have like CM Punk, like maybe Sammy cheats to win, and somebody beats down Cody. Punk comes out to make the save, and he accidentally hits Cody, and that kind of gets them going. I don't really think they need to have the title involved for them to have a match. You could easily do something else with Sami Zayn. You could have Sami Zayn face, like maybe a return to Drew McIntyre, a Trick Williams, maybe have Trick lose the U.S. belt before then. There's lots Sami Zayn can do as champion, but we'll see what happens. SmackDown was relatively solid. I'll give it like a B minus. You could definitely feel that it was a tape show, so there's that. Then we had NXT Great American Bash. I really enjoyed it. Obviously it was on the CW. I heard it didn't do great in the numbers, which I kind of expected since it was on CW. AEW was the same day. So I kind of expected it not to do well. But yeah, we had the pre-show. It was hosted by Megan Moran and Sam Roberts. We had some interviews with Ren Sinclair, Miles Bourne, and Tristan Angels, kind of hyping up their matches. And Kevin Owens and Dave LaGreca, because they were there for, like, the tailgates. They kind of, like, gave some thoughts on other matches. We had the intro. We had the code open. Then we had Tony D defending the NXT title against Naoku. I really liked this match a lot. Very back and forth. They had Naoku target his eye. Eventually, Tony D did win with Dead to Rights. I was kind of surprised by this. I figured they would put the belt on Naoku, but considering the fact that they had Naoku kind of get one up back on him on NXT, the feud's not over, but yeah. Kind of figured, though, I would have done new champion. I was still giving 4 stars, but I would have had a new title. Like, Tony D had an easy out with his eye being hurt, and, would have sent a message, would have gotten Naoku's main, NXT run off to a really hot start, but whatever. Then Zarya faced Tatum Paxley. This was really great. I really enjoyed this a lot. Very back and forth, very physical. Zarya won after 2 F5s, and she hit one on the floor, then one in the ring. And yeah, Zarya beat Tatum. I think that made sense. She just won the belt, really no reason to take it off. I give that 4.5 stars. Then Rank and QC were backstage, and they were happy to, they were looking forward to both leaving Great American Bash as champions. Mr. Stone and the Vanity Project were backstage, and Mr. Stone announced that Jackson Drake was going to face Mason Wook on NXT, and then Swipe Right, we're going to have to defend the tag titles against Dr. Wagner Jr. and his brother. I forget his name, but it's in the notes for the NXT episode. Then it cut back to the Watch Party segment with KO and Dave LaGreca. I like this. Like, Kevin Owens was kind of ragging on the crowd, calling Tristan Angels talented, and the crowd was booing him for that, so that was pretty funny. And then Shallow Hill faced Tristan Angels. This was very good, definitely better than you would think for a match just thrown on the show, kind of a little last minute. They did a really cool thing where, like, they went under the ring, and they had, like, a phone under there, like, to FaceTime, or I don't know if it was a phone, it was like a SOS, like, serial alert or something, and, like, Tristan Angels got called and said, like, warning, something's next to you, and then, like, it showed Shiloh with, like, a Jason Voorhees mask, and he beat him up. But Shiloh Hill won. He beat him with, like, the choke slam, I think. I was happy Shiloh Hill won. He's doing really well. I think he's got a really interesting gimmick. I think there'll be more stuff for Tristan Angels to do, so good stuff here. Then Team Natty were backstage, and they announced here that Natty, that Carmen Petrovic was going to take care of Jada Polka. Really not into Team Natty. They're trying to do the LFG comparison, but Natty hasn't even been on LFG the last few weeks. I'm pretty sure she's done with that show for this season. And, like, I'm not really into the Natty gimmick. WWE basically dropped the ball with it. They should have just waited to turn her into Natty after WrestleMania, with all the people now gone and everything. And, you know, Natty's just back in the same position that she was in. You know, she just put in over talent now as Natty instead of doing it as Natalia. So, whatever. Then Gwen Sinclair defended the speed belt against Ariana Grace. Good stuff. This was really unnecessary. The speed belts are just so unnecessary to have in WWE. Well, Gwen Sinclair won. She made her tap out right at the 5-minute mark, or like a little less since they didn't want to go over. But the speed belts are just over it. I'm over the tournaments. I'm over the limits. Get rid of the speed belts. They're so unnecessary to have. When that got canceled, they should have gotten rid of them. So then Deion Lennox faced Shaquan Sugars. Really good stuff. This match really surprised me. Shaquan did win. They had Osiris and Cutler James come back. They were like selling their injuries, but then we find out they weren't really hurt. Afterwards, they immediately beat down Shaquan. Really did make sense if you think about it, because like they, you know, if they were set in a trap, they should have just helped Deion win. But I guess this keeps that feud going. I imagine like he's gonna go through each member like now, like face him all in a match and win. Maybe he'll face Deion in a cage match, maybe a weaponized cage match. Shaquan will win that, and then he'll move on. Maybe they'll do a 6-man too. They'll bring back Javon and have Tony D maybe team up with them, since he's had issues with Dog State before. I think that makes sense. That was like 3.5 stars though. I thought that was really good. Then Tana Paxley's upstage, upset she lost, and then she got made fun of by Kelani Jordan. They got into a brawl. Then we had Miles Bourne versus Tavion Heights. This was very good stuff. Tavion kind of dominated the whole match, but then Miles Bourne kind of got like a lucky zigzag on him for the win. Out of nowhere, Miles Bourne retained his title. But I liked it. I thought it was very good stuff. 3 3/4 stars. They kind of patched things up afterwards, so we'll see what happens. Then they announced that NXT and AAA are going to have an event the same day. AAA is going to do an episode. I forget where, but they're going to do an episode, and NXT is going to do Heatwave the same day. Obviously, this is just WWE going up against AEW. I think this one's going to be worse because it's the day of All In. The same day AEW, and it's going to be earlier, and NXT is going earlier, so it's like, why can't WWE just let AEW run a show uninterrupted? Like, it's getting kind of annoying at this point, you know. I'm all for competition. I'm all for shows going up against each other, but like AEW just can't seem to get a break when it comes to having a show the same weekend. Like, it's been worse since TKO took over. And then they try to say, oh, well, we didn't know, but like AEW's had this show announced for like weeks. So then it cut back to the watch party where Keanu came up upset, and like he got thrown. You know, he got into it with Hank and Tank, and he threw Hank Walker off the stage and threw a table. I think I glossed over it, but also this was where it was announced that, because he was upset that like EK Prosper got a title shot for the Latin American title. So yeah. Then the main event was Kendall Gray versus Lola Vice for the women's title. Great stuff right here. Their styles really mess with each other, with the MMA style and like the amateur wrestling style. I thought they really just tore the house down. This was probably like 4 3/4 stars. I thought it ended kind of abruptly, and I think that's mainly because because the news was coming on, so they had to go up against that. That'll be one good thing, I guess, when NXT goes earlier on that Sunday or whatever, the August 30th, because they won't have to go up against the news, because the news was coming on at 10. But yeah, Kendall Gray won with her finisher, the pay dirt, or the Shades of Gray. I don't think that's what it's called, but I'm calling it that. Kendall Gray won the title. Made sense, you know, to go with a new champion here. I really think it made all the sense in the world. And this is what's good about NXT. Everyone kind of gets a run a little bit. You know, Lola Vice, they were still able to give a run with Kendall Gray without hurting Kendall Gray's momentum. Obviously, there's things I would have done differently. Like, I wouldn't have had Kendall Gray lose to Kalani Jordan in the lead up to this and stuff. But overall, this was done pretty damn well. I imagine, Kendall Gray would have a solid one with the title. I just have her go through challenges, maybe hold the belt for the rest of the year. But yeah, Kendall Gray, I'm really happy that she got this opportunity here. Um, but yeah, this is great stuff for 1 3/4. Overall, I liked Heat Wave. Not Heat Wave, Great American Bash. Heat Wave's the next one. I thought it was very good stuff. I'll probably give it like a B plus. Obviously the ads were a little annoying, and I feel like it was still a great show offering all around. I would have cut the speed match though. And I thought Dion and Shaquan could have been laid out a little better. I would have put the belt on Nalaku, but other than that, still a great show all around. And a good weekend for WWE. Then NXT for this week. I don't think I took notes for that. No, I did take notes for that. Booker T came back to commentary because it was Wade and Vic on the Great American Bash, and now it was Booker just swapped places with Wade. I don't know what Booker was the last couple of weeks, but obviously everyone was worried he was going to get replaced, but obviously he was just gone for a couple of weeks. Kendall Gray came out, though, and she did a promo talking about how happy she was to be champion. I believe this episode of NXT, by the way, took place on June 30th, since it's a Tuesday. And yeah, she talked about how happy she was to be champion. I liked her promo here. It felt very real. She kind of talked about like a lot of her insecurities and stuff like that. And I kind of like that we get that now in promos from wrestlers. And then after that, Lynn Sinclair came out, and they did like a little cake celebration. Kalani Jordan came out and said that she wants a title shot, and then she got attacked by Tatum. And I kind of ended that segment, so that was all relatively good. Then it showed Vikingo laid out, because again, he was injured, so this was basically to invite him off the match. I don't know how long he's going to be gone for, I feel bad for him, he was finally starting to do well in WWE, but, obviously he's kind of injury prone. He gets injured a lot with, but I think this one was just bad luck, so. And then Mr. Stone was backstage, and he was upset with Keanu, so he put him, in a match with E.K. Prosper, and he also made a match with Kalani and Tatum in the main event. Then we had Galeno and Dr. Hio Dagger Jr. versus Swipe Right for the tag titles. I thought this was great. Really loved it. Really great tag match. Swipe Right retained by Cheatin. But yeah, I thought this was great. You could say this doesn't really do anything for Triple H because they came in, but I think in all fairness, I think Vikingo was probably supposed to beat A.K. Prosper had he not got hurt, so I'll kind of give him a pass on that. Then it's all the tag teams backstage upset. They haven't had a shot at the tag titles. It was Out the Mud. Sean Legacy, but he couldn't find Dorian Van Duke. Then it was Birthright, and I think Hank and Tank. No, because Hank wasn't there. Who else? It was another person. I don't remember who the other team was, because it was also Noam Dar and what's his name? Romeo Romero, I think his name is. But there was another team that was there. Dog State, duh. Cutler James and Osiris Griffin. So Robert Stone makes a 4-way tag with everybody but Noam Dar and Romeo Romero, because the Romeo Romero and Noam Dar have to build up their resume. I do like that they say that it makes the wins and losses matter more. I mean, I would think they would deserve a shot over Birthright, because Birthright hasn't really been winning either, but whatever. And I don't really think Dog State's been winning that much. I know Out the Mud has, and like Sean Legacy's team has, but whatever. During this, also, there was a backstage segment with Izzy Dame where she kept trying to talk to Zarya, but then Lizzie Wayne just kept, playing the air guitar and stuff, or playing something, doing some type of rock stuff. So this was used to set up a North American women's title match. Then Jackson Drake faced Mason Rook. I really liked this. I thought this match really was the sleeper of the whole show. Mason Rook looked really good in this match. Jackson Drake won, but he won by cheating because Bailey Humphrey, I don't remember what her name is now, like hold his legs on the ropes so that way he would win. Uh, I thought that protected him in defeat. He still laid out everybody afterwards. So, yeah, I hope they Jackson Drake becomes the next North American champion. I think he deserves it. So we'll see what happens. And then Ted Wilder's giving EK Prosper like motivational advice. During that match, by the way, too, they had like Cam Hendricks like FaceTime Booker T, and I thought that was really funny. So Mr. Stone's backstage. This is where I think like he told like Callie Armstrong that like she had to like do something to earn a title shot type of thing. So yeah, that was that segment. And then EK Prosper faced Keanu Carver. Good stuff. Eventually Tank Ledger threw Keanu Carver through the barricade, which allowed EK Prosper to beat him with the moonsault. So good on EK Prosper that he's gotten 2 wins against Keanu Carver. I like that they gave him an out to lose. So good stuff. Then Mr. Stone and Kendall Gray were backstage. Kendall Gray wants to defend her title. So Natty comes in and says that she should get a title shot. And, you know, Mr. Stone grants it. So it's going to be Natty versus Kendall Gray next week for the title. This is where we also got announced that there was a women's like gauntlet match or some type of women's 4-way match for the number 1 contendership for the North American title for the women's version. And Layla Diggs is in that. Then Jada Palka faced Carmen Petrovic. Not very exciting. Jada Palka won. Really confusing since Carmen Petrovic's like in that heel faction with in Mexico. And now she's here losing to Jada Palka. They should have just thrown somebody else into this spot, but whatever. Then Charlotte Hill and Tatum Paxley were backstage. Tatum Paxley was upset about losing her belt, but Charlotte kind of motivated her. And then Nico Vance came up and, you know, was kind of like, this is why we cut the dead weight, and Charlotte stuck up for him for the dead weight. So, yeah. Now we're going to get Charlotte versus Nico Vance. I hope Charlotte wins because, one, I don't really like Nico Vance that much, but they can easily have him lose by having Sean Spears, like, hit him in the back with a chair while the ref's not looking type of thing. So let's hope that happens. Then Damian Van Duke gets told to get his head in the game by Sean Legacy. Wednesday, Claire Miles Borna backstage. They talk about they're both happy to be champions, and then Tavion comes up. And then there was like a moment where I think one of the teams came up. I don't remember what team it was that like faced off recently, and like we're getting along pretty well. And then like we're like, yeah, that could be us, Tavion. But I don't remember what team that was. So yeah. And then Tony Deeds cuts a promo, comes out and says that he looks forward to all the other challengers coming out to face him. And then when the segment's over, Kendall Gray comes out to like do commentary, but before anything can happen, he gets laid out by Naraku. He gets laid out with like a STO onto the chair. And then, yeah, I did like that though. Like the segment didn't end when Kendall came out. They still had stuff happen. Kind of makes the show feel a little unpredictable and stuff. And then we had Tatum Paxley versus Kalani Jordan. Kalani Jordan won, which was pretty obvious. Then afterwards, Tatum got laid out by Nicole Blackheart, who's a pretty big prospect in the Indies. I haven't really seen much of her work, but I heard of her. So she just debuted in NXT. We'll be interested to see what she does. I feel with Tatum's a good start since Tatum needs something to do. She's been a champion and stuff, so that's something for her to sink her teeth into. During the match too, Callie laid out Kendall. So I imagine we're gonna get Kendall versus Natty next week, and then maybe either Kendall versus Kalani on like a future episode of NXT because the next PLE still isn't for a month, so you can easily squeeze in another title match for Kendall. Whether that's, and you could either do Kalani or Callie. I do Callie at the PLE and Kalani on TV, but I feel like they're gonna reverse that. Which either one works. I just think Callie would send a statement to have these two wrestlers be looked at, but with NXT being on the road, maybe they don't think that Callie would be well known enough, but we'll see. And yeah, that's it. You know, that was NXT. I thought NXT was really good. I'm gonna give it like a B plus. I thought it was great stuff. You know, furthered some stuff. Had some good matches. So then we had Evolve. I didn't take notes on Evolve, so I'm just gonna do this one on based on memory. Um, Shoho or whatever his name was, the guest GM for Evolve, kind of did a promo running down the code. The first match was it was a woman's match. It was Keanu Capri versus Layla Diggs. Layla Diggs won by Anya Rue distracting her. You could tell how Evolve was taped because Mason Holiday came out with her and she just left WWE recently, but you really can't avoid that. Then it went right into the no DQ match with Harlem Lewis and Braxton Cole. I liked this no DQ match. I liked how innovative it was by using a lot of different type of weapons. Eventually, Harlem Lewis won. And then afterwards, Aaron Walker came out, and since Harlem Lewis kind of backed him up in the Evolve title match, he's going to give him an Evolve title match because of the respect they have for each other. So I'm happy about that. I kind of want to see that one-on-one match. Then, what was the other match on the show? I know they did something where, what's his name? He's married to Summer Sorrell, who got released last year. Kel Dixon came out to speak for the first time, and he kind of just turned heel on the show, talk about how the fans like turned on him and how the culture of wrestling is just bad. And this is where the partnership was announced between him and Megan Walker, whose name I don't know. I know she's got a new wrestling name, and basically they're both hot, so they're both going to be together. This is why they should have just kept his fiance around, because that would make more sense to have them together. But whatever, or his wife. I guess they're married now. And then Timothy Thatcher was backstage with Cam Hendricks and the other guy. I forget his name. Yeah, they this was announced that Cam Hendricks' partner is gonna face Tate Wilder in a match. This was really weird because Timothy Thatcher wasn't supposed to be there since he was scouting, but whatever. And then Elijah Holyfield did a promo on Brooks Jensen, calling him out for cheating in their match, so that's another feud. And then the main event was a 6-man tag. It was basically WWE ID 2.0 except for Max Abrams versus ID 1.0, Cappuccino Jones, Marcus Mathers, and Aaron Roberts, I think his name is. It's like I forget his name, but it's the big dude there. And basically ID 2.0 clean sweeped them. They got all the eliminations without them getting an elimination themselves. Or like, all they eliminated every member of the other team without getting eliminated themselves, I should say. That makes sense. They have to really rebuild that since they lost, since Max Abrams didn't win. So that was cool. Nothing else really to say there. I enjoyed the match. It was a good 6-man tag. And that was Evolve. I thought Evolve was solid. I'll give it like a B. Definitely post secession stuff. So yeah, good stuff from Evolve. I imagine now that the tape schedule's like a little more caught up, I think Twisted Angels is gonna not be in Evolve now, and maybe like Romeo and Mero, they're gonna be NXT like full time. So Layla Diggs, I still think will split her time since she was on this episode, so she'll probably be on the next few batch of tapings. So, but yeah, those were the weeks of WWE. I guess what I should do is just grade the week from now on. I'll probably give it like a B plus. I thought the PLEs were really strong showing for them, but then Raw and SmackDown kind of dipped it with some of the booking decisions they made there. And then NXT was a pretty strong showing, and then Evolve was a pretty strong showing. So yeah, overall relatively enjoyable stuff. And then another piece of news that broke last night, Sunday, depending on when you watch this. Sheamus is leaving WWE. he might not have already left. Sheamus, has been with WWE for years. You thought he'd be a lifer for WWE, but as we've kind of seen with this TKO takeover, there really isn't a lifers anymore. And it's kind of the same thing that happened with the New Day, where they didn't want to renew his contract. Well, not renew his contract. They didn't want to give him more money. They wanted to cut his pay. Because, he's getting older and everything like that. They want to put that investment into younger talent and everything like that. And they think Sheamus, he's 48 now, approaching 50. They wanted to cut his pay. I think this is a mistake. WWE and just TKO are just so money greedy now. They're willing to save it so much money. And they don't even need to. They always talk about how they're making world record, like, numbers in the venues and everything like that, where the venues are selling out. They'll talk about the PLEs are doing well, but then they do stuff like this that they don't need to do. Sheamus maybe should know his worth, I guess, a little bit, because he has been injured a lot. So I can see why WWE and TKO wouldn't want to invest in that. He's approaching 50. He's 48. So I can see why WWE would want to cut his pay, I guess, a little bit. But it's like, this is just a massive mistake to let this guy go. This guy is a former world champion for WWE. He can bring a lot of value to WWE. And the fact that they're just going to cut him and not even try to, negotiate something and not at least meet in the middle. They don't have to give him the boat. I don't know how much money he was asking, but, definitely deserves to be paid with, how long he was there, the loyalty and just the time he was there. But, yeah, this is a massive mistake. Sheamus is easily going to go to AEW, I think. I think that makes a lot of sense. AEW is about to really cook, I think. I really need to sit down and watch that because I hear they're doing so well. I just have to find the time to do that. But, they're probably going to get the New Day. They're probably going to get Motor City Machine Guns. They might get some other talent that's been released. Sheamus now is going to be out there. And WWE is just basically feeding AEW just top talent. And then I don't really understand that. And then WWE is getting fed this talent and just kind of sitting around, not really doing much with it. Like Royce Keys, what the fuck's happened to him? So yeah, this is a joke. But that's basically it. I don't really have anything else to really say. I went about an hour, which is about how long I wanted to go. Definitely check out this channel for future content. I think this week, I was gonna do it last week, but I think this week with less chaos, I'm gonna do a different approach with the Aftershocks because Chris isn't available again to do the show. I'm gonna do Aftershock Extra this week. Tomorrow I'll review Raw. Wednesday I'll review NXT. Friday I'll review the C shows, Evolve and Main Event, and then Saturday I'll review SmackDown. I hope you guys enjoy that. And yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. Thank you guys for checking out this channel. Check out my other stuff on this channel. Like I said, check out all of the Aftershock Extra stuff I'm going to do this week. And then obviously check out Owen the Talkinator. We got some exciting stuff coming up on that. Well, not today, but Wednesday at some point, I'm going to upload the season 1 finale of Avatar. And then we're going to do a channel update video. So that should be exciting. And that's pretty much it, guys. And I'll talk to you guys later.